His greatest mistake became his greatest story. The signal in the void. The silence of deep space had a weight to it. Communications specialist Ryland Foster felt it pressing against his ears as he adjusted the frequency band on his console. The research vessel Horizon drifted through the Andromeda Belt, its mission to catalog exoplanets forgotten in light of what they'd just discovered. Anything new? Commander Jackson leaned over Ryland's shoulder, his breath smelling of the synthetic coffee he'd been rationed for the 6-month expedition. Nothing's changed, sir. Ryland ran his fingers through his auburn hair, fatigue evident in the dark circles under his eyes. The signal's still repeating, but I can't make sense of the pattern. The discovery had come 3 days ago during a routine sweep of communication channels. An anomalous signal, definitely artificial, definitely not human. It pulsed with mathematical precision, a complex sequence of tones that defied immediate translation, and it was coming from a sector of space believed to be uninhabited. Keep at it. Jackson squeezed his shoulder before moving back to the command chair. Director Okafor wants hourly updates. The whole United Earth government is buzzing about this. Ryland nodded, returning his attention to the waveform displayed on his screen. 3 days of minimal sleep, sustained by stims, and the thrill of discovery. He was part of potentially the most significant moment in human history. First contact with an alien intelligence. The Horizon wasn't prepared for this. It was a research vessel staffed by scientists and engineers, not a diplomatic ship or military escort. They had protocols for this scenario, of course. Every vessel did since the expansion era began. But those were theoretical guidelines written by bureaucrats who never expected them to be used. Foster. The voice of Captain Naomi Wells came through his comm. My office now. The captain's office was a cramped space barely larger than a storage closet. What it lacked in size, Captain Wells made up for with personality. Diplomas and commendations lined one wall, while the other displayed a collection of ancient navigational instruments, a sextant, an astrolabe, a magnetic compass, physical reminders of humanity's long journey toward the stars. Have you slept? She asked without looking up from her tablet. I'm fine, Captain, Ryland replied, standing at attention. She finally raised her eyes to meet his. Captain Wells was not an imposing woman physically, barely 5.5 feet tall with a slight build, but her presence filled any room she occupied. Dark skin contrasted with prematurely silver hair cropped close to her scalp, and her eyes missed nothing. That wasn't what I asked, Specialist Foster. No, ma'am, not much. Sit. She gestured to the chair across from her desk. When he hesitated, she added, That's an order. Ryland sat, feeling the fatigue crash over him like a wave the moment his body relaxed. What do you make of it? She asked, sliding her tablet toward him. It displayed the signal pattern he'd been studying for days. It's definitely a communication attempt, he said, tracing the waveform with his finger. There's a clear mathematical sequence, prime numbers, Fibonacci sequence, and something else I can't quite identify. It's too precise to be natural. And it's directed at us specifically. Yes, Mom. The beam is too narrow, too focused. They know we're here. Captain Wells leaned back, her chair creaking under the slight shift in weight. The question is, how long have they known? A chill ran down Ryland's spine. He hadn't considered that implication. Director Okafor has ordered us to initiate first contact protocol. Her voice remained steady, but Ryland detected a slight tremor in her hands as she retrieved her tablet. We're the closest vessel to the signal source. By the time any diplomatic team could arrive, we might have missed our window. We're not trained for that, Ryland said, voicing the fear that had been building in his gut. No one is, Foster. First contact protocol has never been implemented. She fixed him with an intense gaze. But you're the best communications specialist in the fleet. That's why I requested you for this mission. You did. This was news to him. He'd assumed his assignment to the Horizon had been random chance. I read your dissertation on xenolinguistic theory. Your ideas about universal mathematical principles as a foundation for interspecies communication were inspired. Rylan felt his cheeks flush. His dissertation had been largely ignored by the academic community, dismissed as overly theoretical. "Captain," Chief Medical Officer Tenzin Dorj's voice interrupted over the comm. "We have a situation in the medbay." Wells frowned. "What kind of situation, Doctor?" "It's Engineer Patel. She's experiencing some kind of neurological episode. She claims she's hearing voices speaking through the ship's systems." Rylan and the captain exchanged alarmed glances. "When did this start?" Wells demanded. "Shortly after we detected the signal," Dorj replied. "At first, I thought it was stress-induced hallucination, but 2 more crew members have reported similar symptoms in the last hour." "Quarantine them," Wells ordered. "Full isolation protocols. And run every diagnostic we have." "Already done, Captain." "But there's something else. Before we sedated her, Patel wrote something down. It looks like, well, it resembles the pattern in the signal we've been receiving." Rylan felt the blood drain from his face. "They're not just communicating with our technology," he whispered. "They're trying to communicate directly with us." The captain's expression darkened. "Report to Medbay, Foster. See if you can make sense of what Patel wrote." "And Foster," she added as he rose from his chair, "not a word of this to anyone else. The last thing we need is panic." As Rylan hurried through the Horizon's corridors, the ship suddenly seemed alien and threatening. The familiar hum of the engines took on an ominous tone. Were they truly alone on their own vessel, or had something already come aboard? The medbay doors hissed open to reveal controlled chaos. 3 crew members were strapped to beds, their bodies twitching despite heavy sedation. Dr. Dorj moved efficiently between them, his weathered face set in a mask of professional concern. "Foster," he acknowledged with a nod. "Over here." On a digital tablet lay a series of symbols, drawn with shaking hands before Patel lost consciousness. They weren't any human language Rylan recognized, yet they felt strangely familiar. The pattern pulsed in his mind like a half-remembered dream. "Has anyone else been able to read this?" he asked. "No one's even tried. We've been too busy keeping them stable." Dorj lowered his voice. "Their neural activity is off the charts. It's like their brains are receiving and processing massive amounts of information, far more than should be possible." Rylan studied the symbols, and with growing horror, realized he could almost understand them. The longer he stared, the more the pattern seemed to shift and clarify in his mind. "I need to get back to my station," he said abruptly, backing away from the tablet. "Wait, have you figured something out?" Dorj called after him. But Rylan was already running, heart pounding in his chest. He knew what the signal was now. It wasn't a greeting or a peaceful overture. It was a warning. And as the Horizon continued its journey through the void, something vast and ancient stirred in the darkness ahead, awakened by humanity's unwitting intrusion into territory that had been forbidden for millennia. Echoes of warning. The command center fell silent as Rylan burst through the doors, his face pale with realization. Captain Wells looked up from the holographic display, her expression hardening at the wild look in his eyes. "Foster, what did you find?" she demanded. Rylan struggled to catch his breath. "It's not a greeting, Captain. The signal, it's a warning." Chief Science Officer Prisha Sharma moved closer, her analytical gaze fixed on Rylan. "Warning of what exactly?" "I'm not entirely sure," Rylan admitted, "but the symbols Engineer Patel transcribed. They form a pattern similar to our ancient warning signs. Danger. Stay away. The mathematical sequences aren't an invitation. They're boundary markers." Commander Jackson scoffed. "You got all that from some scribbles." "The pattern affects human neural pathways directly," Rylan explained. "That's why the crew members in Medbay are experiencing these symptoms. The message is trying to bypass our technology and communicate straight to our brains." Captain Wells nodded slowly. "Dr. Dorj reported 3 more cases in the last hour. Whatever this is, it's spreading." The view screen flickered suddenly, static crawling across the display before resolving into a star map. No one had activated it. Security breach. Lieutenant Omar called from his station. Something's accessing our systems. Shut it down, Wells ordered. I'm trying. Omar's fingers flew across his console. It's overriding our commands. The star map zoomed in on their position, then projected a trajectory directly away from their current course, a path of retreat. They're showing us a way out, Rylan whispered. The ship's engines suddenly powered down, leaving only emergency systems operational. The lights dimmed, bathing the command center in an eerie red glow. Status report. Wells barked. All propulsion systems offline, replied Navigator Linway from her station. Life support stable but minimal. It's like the ship just decided to stop. Prisha approached the view screen, studying the projected course. This isn't random. The path avoids all major gravitational influences. It's the optimal retreat route. Are we being attacked? Jackson demanded. Rylan shook his head. I don't think so. It feels more like intervention. Like something's trying to prevent us from proceeding. Well, I don't appreciate being hijacked, beneficial or not, Wells said firmly. Sharma, Foster, my office now. The rest of you, get those engines back online. In the captain's cramped office, Prisha pulled up data on her tablet. Energy readings have been fluctuating since we first detected the signal. I dismissed it as instrument error, but now it looks deliberate, Wells finished. Exactly. Something's been probing our systems, learning our technology. Prisha tucked a strand of dark hair behind her ear. Whatever intelligence we're dealing with, it's far more advanced than us. The warning is clear, Rylan added. We shouldn't proceed further into this sector. Wells leaned against her desk. The UEG won't accept turning back based on a vague warning. We need concrete evidence. With all due respect, Captain, Rylan countered, we have crew members suffering neurological effects and a ship that's been remotely disabled. That's pretty concrete. And what exactly should I tell Director Okafor? That we ran away because we got scared. Wells shook her head. This could be humanity's greatest discovery, or a significant threat. Either way, we need to understand it. The ship's communication system crackled suddenly, and a voice, distorted but distinctly not human, echoed through the room. Danger. Return. Boundary. Death. All three froze, exchanging shocked glances. That wasn't just in my head, was it? Prisha whispered. No, Wells confirmed, her voice steady despite the circumstances. It appears our mysterious friends are learning our language. The voice came again, more distinct this time. Human vessels. Retreat. Phalasian territory. Death follows trespass. Phalasian. Rylan repeated, committing the word to memory. They've identified themselves and declared this their territory, Wells noted grimly. Prisha's tablet pinged with an alert. Captain, the engines are back online. But they're operating autonomously. The ship is turning around. Wells straightened. Override it. Systems aren't responding to commands. Prisha looked up, concern etched across her features. The Thalasians have complete control. The office door slid open, and Commander Jackson stood in the entrance, his face ashen. Captain, you need to see this. They followed him to the command center. On the main view screen was a visual feed from the external cameras, and what they saw stole their breath away. A massive structure had appeared in space before them, seemingly materialized from nothing. It resembled a gateway, its architecture both organic and mechanical, pulsing with energy that defied human understanding. Symbols similar to those Patel had drawn crawled across its surface like living things. How did we miss that? Wells breathed. It wasn't there before, Navigator Lin replied. At least, not visibly. Sensors detect some kind of phase technology. It exists partially in another dimension. The gateway began to glow, its center stretching open like an iris. It's a portal, Rylan realized aloud. They're opening a door. To where? Jackson demanded. Before anyone could answer, the alien voice returned, clearer now. Human vessel horizon. We approach. Prepare for boarding. Resistance unnecessary. Wells turned to her crew, her face set with determination. It seems we're getting our first contact after all. All personnel, prepare for potential boarding. This is not a drill. Captain, Rylan interjected. The first contact protocol specifically advises against armed response. I'm aware of the protocol, Specialist Foster. Her eyes never left the view screen. But protocols were written by people who never imagined this scenario. We'll be respectful, but we'll also be ready. Through the gateway emerged a vessel unlike anything human eyes had seen before. It defied conventional design, appearing to bend and flow rather than maintain a rigid structure. It approached the horizon with purposeful precision. Open a direct channel, Wells ordered Rylan. He complied, his fingers finding the right commands despite his trembling hands. Channel open, Captain. Wells squared her shoulders. This is Captain Naomi Wells of the United Earth Government Research Vessel Horizon. We acknowledge your warning and apologize for our uninformed trespass into your territory. We come with peaceful intent and seek understanding. The response was immediate, the alien voice resonating not just through the speakers but somehow within their minds simultaneously. Captain Naomi Wells, your apology is noted. Your intentions irrelevant. The breach has consequences. The protocol must be enforced. What protocol? Wells asked, but received no answer. The Thalassian ship drew alongside the horizon, dwarfing the human vessel. A point of light appeared where the two ships were closest, expanding into a bridge of energy connecting them. They're creating a docking corridor, Prisha observed, her scientific curiosity momentarily overriding her fear. All senior officers to the main airlock, Wells commanded. This is humanity's first formal contact with an alien intelligence. Let's make it count. As they moved through the corridors of their own ship, Rylan noticed the lights flickering in sequence, as if something was following their progress through the electrical system itself. Captain, he said quietly, I think they're already aboard in some form. The way they're interfacing with our technology. It's like they can project themselves through energy systems. Wells kept her pace steady. Then they've seen enough to know we're no threat to them. Or enough to consider us one, Jackson muttered. They assembled at the airlock. Wells, Jackson, Rylan, Prisha, Dr. Dorge, and Lieutenant Omar. The captain had insisted on a small reception party, enough to show respect, few enough to appear non-threatening. The airlock sensors indicated pressure equalization complete, though no one had activated the sequence. Here we go, Wells said softly. History in the making. The airlock doors slid open, revealing a corridor of swirling energy. And through that corridor emerged the Thalassians, beings of light and matter intertwined, humanoid in basic shape but fluid in form. They seemed to shift and change as they moved, their bodies emitting a soft blue luminescence. The lead figure solidified somewhat as it approached, features becoming more distinct, eyes like liquid silver, skin that rippled with patterns similar to those in their signal. It spoke, its mouth not moving but its voice clear in their minds. I am Sentinel Vex of the Thalassian Boundary Authority. Your presence violates the impossible protocol. Prepare for judgment.